Hi, Lindy. Hi, Kingi.
Hey, Lindy.
Good evening.
How are you feeling, Lindy? You awesome speaker.
Same to you.
Oh,
Now I had to hunt around to find your winning speech, which it was the difference you make. Was that the power?
yeah, something like that. It was so long ago, but yes, it does. Your speech was awesome.
Oh well,
We
thank
watched
you.
it. We watched it. It's 2:30 in the morning now, and I stayed up all night. Hey, Simon.
Hey, Simon. Good to see you.
2:30. Hello, Simon.
There we are.
Hello.
What time is it in your part of the world, Simon?
Ah, here it is, 1:30 in the afternoon. Nice to see you. So I just had some audio settings to sort out, but no, it's just gone lunchtime. Nice to see you. Hello.
Hello, daytime. I thought I had a bad at 5 in the morning, but Kingy beats me at 2:30.
Is that the time?
2:30 a.m. Oh my goodness, Kingy.
It's
Nice to
2:30.
actually see you,
Yes, it
Kingy,
is.
after our little exchanges of messages on
Yeah,
Facebook
it
over
is.
the last.
Nice talking to you, Simon.
Whereabouts
Hello,
are you,
everyone.
Kingy? I know you're in New Zealand. Is that right?
I'm in Rotorua. It's about 3 hours south of Auckland. It's in the thermal activity area.
Nice. And Lindy, whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State in the United States.
Wow.
Oh wow, okay.
And
We got all the
you,
time zones covered.
Yeah. And you're in
Yeah.
England?
I'm in London. I'm in London
London.
in the UK.
Nice.
And Mohammed,
Ooh.
where are you?
Mohammed.
Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Yeah, good.
I'm in Saudi Arabia. I'm like 3 hours ahead of London. So it's like 4:30 p.m. right here.
So I'm calling from the future.
That's
It's,
right. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
2:30. It's 2:30 on Sunday.
Tomorrow.
Just don't tell me how it
That
goes.
must mean you
please.
know things we don't.
Yeah.
Yes,
Don't
that's
tell
right,
us.
that's
Don't
right,
tell
I
us,
can-
please. We like to be surprised.
No worries.
Exactly.
No worries.
I'm the ghost of Christmas past, so.
Thank you everyone for joining in. I know it's too early for most of you, and for us in India, it's just about 5:07, early evening for us, and it's a good day, and good to see all the pleasant faces, bright and ready for this panel. I'm excited to be a part of this session, and I'm sure you all will give me wonderful lessons to take back. So Cyril,
Hi, Brilliant. We'll start in another 4 minutes.
yeah, sure. We'll wait for your indication. Thank you.
How shall we address you, Dr.
Just call me Brilliant.
Brilliance? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I want to add a
perfect.
T to the end of that.
That's why Toastmasters.
I bet you've heard that about 1 million times, though, haven't you? Right? I realised that was not an original comment from my side. Sorry for being very cliche.
It always happens, yeah. Yeah, but it helps, you know. I'll share one interesting anecdote. There used to be a time when there was this .com bubble which was gaining in India, and I had 276 email IDs which said brilliant@anything.com.
Ooh, nice.
So one of the advantages of having a different name is, yeah, some privileges you get.
How are you feeling, Lindy, after such an awesome, groundbreaking World Championship of Public Speaking?
Well, it's been a ride. You know, I was watching all of your videos last night and thinking with some envy that you being on the live stage, and yet, you know, to actually have no travel fees and to appear on the large stage from my extra bedroom is really something. So it's a strange combination of visibility and isolation this year.
That's right. You had no concerns about having to fundraise
That's
to get
right.
yourself there because you were there.
Exactly.
Can I say also, it's nice to see you, Mohammed. I think it was in Vancouver I last saw you. And of course, I sort of have a Saudi connection. So followed your journey with great interest.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you.
Whereabouts are you at the moment? Oh, sorry. If I need to shut up, do say. But whereabouts are you, Mohammed? If we do have still some time, are you in Saudi at the moment?
Yeah. Yes, I am. I am in my house, and it's about 4:35 p.m. So yeah, I have like the best timing of all of you guys. Like most of you are like either sleeping or about to sleep, but no, I'm good.
That sounds very civilized.
So Simon, did you spend time in Saudi too? I gathered from your speech that your parents live there. Did you?
Yeah, that's right. As a child, I spent about 6 years living in Jeddah, or just outside Jeddah. My father was a doctor in a hospital at the National Guard Hospital just outside Jeddah on the west coast. So I have very fond memories of as a child of Jeddah and snorkeling and being very hot.
It's completely changed now. It's like a whole new place over there. So
I'll bet. I've literally not been back since 88, 89. I hope at some point.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Then you should come back. Like you will see like a complete.
Yeah. It's been very close to a couple of pieces of work in Saudi over the last few years, and for various reasons, it hasn't quite worked out. But I look forward to the day of returning at some point. I'm sure it's changed a lot.
Please do let me know. I'll show you around.
That'd be great. We'd love to see you.
I'll show you around, of course.
A very warm and fabulous Saturday evening to each one of you. I'm the Chief Sergeant at Arms Toastmaster Kirti. On behalf of our area G1, I extend a special invite to all the Toastmasters and the delegates present here. I welcome you all to Orate 2020, connecting global from local. Zoom Master, can we have the video? Thank you so much. That was a great video. To make this evening more interesting, we are having prominent speakers from all over the world. Thank you so much for volunteering your time and joining our meeting. There are some set of ground rules to be followed throughout the meeting. Refrain yourself from speaking about sex, religion, and politics. Please keep yourself on mute unless and until required. If your connection is lost, please do join us back and wait until the host lets you in. Our Toastmaster club mission is Zoom Master, next slide. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. I now further hand over to our MC. He is the VP Education Officer of Toastmaster, Ahun Toastmaster. He, coming to his profession, he runs a tech startup in Bombay, in Pune, sorry. He is the one who always looks for the problems to solve in as business way as he can. With no more delay, I want to welcome our MC Toastmaster Anirudh. Over to you.
Thanks, Sergeant at Arms. Before Anirudh comes on the stage, I'll quickly talk to you. I am not Anirudh, but my name is Toastmaster Cyril. I'm the co-chair of the Orate 2020. I would firstly welcome every one of you and request our Zoom master to share the screen. So before Anirudh comes on, I thought I'll quickly talk with everyone about all the people who have come. We have dignitaries, we have different district directors also joining in today, and area directors from different parts of India and also abroad. There have been invites sent to different districts as well. Thank you so much everyone for joining today, making out some time. Can we go to the next slide? And with that, I would like to, I still remember on 29th of October, where we were informed about the area contest by our area director, Toastmaster Gagan. And just after that day, the whole leadership team met and we decided we should do something different. We should take this contest, area contest, to a different level, and that gave birth to Orate 2020. From that thought to this day, we took up the challenge to make adversity of staying at home into an opportunity to remotely connect to all the people across the globe, to gather great minds from different areas, to gather great minds from different districts. This virtual conference sets up the strong message that if your intention is good and your focus, nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you to get this learning, even in this COVID phase, to the next level. With that, let me also call out the 4 areas who are involved in this conference. The areas of Area G1, including HRDC Toastmasters, CKM Toastmasters, Vision Toastmasters, and Oracle Hyderabad Toastmasters, who showed immense faith in the area leadership and supported us throughout the last 30 days, along with 22 organizers, to put this grand show today. I, as the co-chair of Orate 2020, would like to call this conference open, and with a round of huge virtual applause, I would hope that today and tomorrow, these 2 days, would bring in a lot of learning, and I would like to hand it over to our moderator, distinguished Toastmaster Brilliant, to take forward.
Thank you. Check. Audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much and welcome. It is indeed an opportune moment for all of us. We all know that organizing an event requires a lot of efforts, and I would like to thank all of you for being patient. We know we were a bit delayed, but yes, things happen and we all learn to live by it. This is a fantastic opportunity for all of us to learn from some world-class speakers. What do we have for us today? Before we move ahead, I would request the Zoom master to make sure that we have all the speaking people as spotlighted members in the Zoom panel, please, so that the panel members along with me are visible at all points of time. Thank you. The video, please.
A simple choice of word can make a difference between someone accepting
Have you ever met someone where, right from the start,
It's about making community so we all know each other well.
sometimes it takes a terrifying experience for somebody to see what really matters?
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful video. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good late morning, good late evening, and early morning to many of you. Thank you for joining this panel today. And what do we have? We have stars. And who do we start with? We start with someone whom I asked, could you send me your intro, please? And I just got one letter, a statement saying, Mohammad Katani, TTM, World Champion Public Speaking 2015. And I said, that's too long. We need to make sure that there's a lot of importance given to the efforts behind this particular speech. Thank you, Mohammed, for joining us. Words are power. Words could be your power. A software analyst working for Saudi Aramco Company Limited, he joined Toastmasters in 2009 and won the World Championship of Public Speaking in 2015 at Las Vegas. He invested a lot of hours in competition, prepping up, practice, and going across all levels. And he holds the honor of being the first Arab to bag the honor and the title of being a world champion of public speaking. And today, Katani uses his strengths in overcoming his fears. And this is interesting, my dear friends. He began speaking only at the age of 6, but his hindrance never stopped him from soaring high to achieve the goals and make his dreams come true. The winning speech, Power of Words, left a huge impact on his audience, and he is now spreading this message across the world. And my claim to fame with Mohammed is the fact that when he was announced as the winner, when the camera zooms in, there is 2 seconds of time when I am seen in that video. So thank you and welcome, Mohammed, to this wonderful panel. I'm sure we will all have a great time.
Thank you so much, William. Thank you, my friend. And I'm honored to be with you guys. Appreciate it.
Cheers, cheers. And now we have someone who says it's just afternoon in London, Simon Bucknell. Way back in the year 2001, according to Simon, he made a mess of a speech in his first job. That's when he took a pledge to improve and he joined a Toastmasters club. And in the year 2017, he placed second in the final of World Championship of Public Speaking. He is an international speaker, coach, facilitator for the last 12 years. And his clients include some of the world's prestigious organizations and businesses. That's not all. He is an adjunct faculty at Oxford University's Blavatnik School of Government and a visiting fellow in professional skills at the Cambridge University. Simon was awarded the Freedom of City of London in the year 2013, and recently he was the opening speaker for TEDx London at Royal Festival Hall on the need for public speaking to be taught in schools. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Simon Buckner.
Thank you. Appreciate the very warm intro. Lovely to be here.
Welcome.
Lovely to be with you.
Good to see you. Oh, times have changed and we are no longer meeting in person. And that's where this beautiful lady comes in. 5:15 a.m. in the morning for her. Lindy McLean, World Champion Public Speaking, third place winner from the virtual stage. I may be your missing link, and I truly hope you help us find that missing link, Lindy today. Winner of the third place at the World Championship of Public Speaking, Lindy is an author of books, including The Curse of the Neverland and Becoming Piper Pan. Interesting. When not writing, she can be found daydreaming. No wonder she wrote a message at around 2 a.m. in the morning asking me whether I should be up at 5:15 or 6:15. Biking, hiking, Zumba classes, watching movies, hanging out with friends, or just soaking up beauty. That's what she loves the most. She is a life purpose and creativity coach for people in the second bloom of life because we are never too old to have a grand adventure. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the one and only, the first ever virtual champion on screen with us today, Lindy.
Thank you so much. The introduction you wrote was far better than the one I wrote for myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And now we have probably one of the most energetic. I have had the pleasure of meeting him and seeing his speech, where his body language was out of this world. Kingi Biddle. Kingi Biddle, world champion, public speaking 2013, second place winner, is from Taniwa Hunters Toastmasters Club and lives in New Zealand with his family. He says that he can trace his genealogy to that area since 1350, and also says this means I know who I am and who I come from, where I belong. And he's very proud of this fact that his parents ensured that he and his two sisters always had the contact with his wider family, growing up immersed in supportive, kind, and loving atmosphere. He was a world champion finalist in 2011 and 13 and became the first runner up in 2013. He has spoken to audiences across Toastmasters, including Australia, Oman, Dubai, China, and now presenting to you Kingi Biddle in India. Welcome, Kingi.
Hey, hey, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. And it's really, really wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. It is indeed my honor and pleasure to host all of you today for this wonderful panel. And the way in which the structure is, I have shared with the panel, but for the benefit of all members, the panel members will make an opening remark about their speech that made a difference. Each one of them will speak for about a minute, and then we will have some questions posed, maybe about 4 or 5 questions. Depending upon the mood, we can extend those questions, and then it will be opened up for the audience. And the audience questions will be picked up by the question master and will be presented to me. And I hope the question master is ready. And towards the end, each of the panel member will conclude this panel for a minute, and then the floor is all up to us for networking. It is said that speeches are crucial vehicle for forging a delicate emotional bond between the speaker and the people. In simple form, it is storytelling at its best. We have seen speeches forge connections, inspire, motivate, and drive passion amongst the audience. No wonder, my dear friends, best of the politicians always have a speech writer. Unlike politicians, we have to write our own speeches, get it past our mentors, and if it survives the club level, move on to a larger stage. And in the world, I would say at Toastmasters, there are two types of speakers. One who participate in contests, and others like me who buy books. Speak Like Churchill, The Essence of Public Speaking, and Personally Speaking by Toastmasters. Whatever you do, the end result, all that we expect is that we leave an impact with the audience. So let's begin this panel, starting with the world champion himself, Mohammad Katani. Mohammad, over to you for the first share from the entire panel today.
Thank you so much, Brilliant. And for what I'd like to share about speech writing or speech delivery is, I always give an advice to everybody to keep your mind open for inspiration. Because if a speech is something that you force to write, it's not gonna come out right. But it's when the inspiration actually hits you, and you never know when it's gonna happen. I do remember in my district conference, I came in second place, and I only made it to the finals because the first place winner dropped out, and I had to go and take his spot. But I wasn't like ready, and I didn't have a speech ready for the final. And I was trying to force myself to come up with an idea for a speech, but it never happened until one day. I was at work, and a friend of mine asked me if he wanted to go out for, I mean, like to have a smoke. So we're standing outside and like we're smoking, and then an older man came by, and he said to us, guys, You're still young. I mean, why are you killing yourself? Smoking is bad for you. I didn't say anything, but then my friend looked at this guy and he said, actually, sir, that's not true. There isn't any single medical research that proves a link between smoking and heart disease or lung cancer. There isn't a single one. So the guy said, then why do we always hear about it and see it on TV and see it on, on like all the cigarette packs? And my friend said, this is all just politics, because they don't want these, like tobacco farmers to make so much money. So they're trying to fight it. This all is just politics. And the guy said, I didn't know that. And then he walked away. I stood there in shock as well. I looked at my friend and said, I didn't know that either. He looked at me and with a straight face, he said, well, I just made it up. And right at that moment, that when it hits me, if this guy, if he could convince someone that smoking that we all know is bad for you is actually not, by just the way he actually said the words, then what else you can do? And that's the inspiration that drove me to write that speech. So the advice I would like to give to you guys is, don't force an idea. Just wait for it to come to you. However, you have to keep your mind open. Every mundane activity that you do on your day, just keep your mind open, because there might be a speech there somewhere. There might be a lesson that somebody else in this world is waiting to listen to. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mohammed, my dear friend. Keep your mind open, stay ready, and don't force an idea. What an inspiring thought for all of us to take back. We now move on to Simon. Simon, please, over to you.
Well, the speech that comes to my mind is one that you mentioned in your kind introduction, Brilliant, which was the speech I gave in my first job, where I made a total mess of it. So it was a speech that went badly, is one of the speeches which I think made a real difference for me. It was back in 2001. It was actually my leaving drinks for my first job, and I hadn't prepared a speech. I didn't know I had to give one. I certainly hadn't had much practice, and it wasn't that I hated speaking in public, but I couldn't manage the adrenaline. And when I was called on, literally there was a speech. I thought my job was just to collect a nice present from my boss, and then we'd all go out and have a drink that evening. So I was asked to give a speech, and literally all those symptoms, which I'm sure many of us here can relate to. My mind started racing and heart pounding, and face went red. I stopped breathing properly. It was horrible. All I needed to say was, look, I've had a really nice couple of years here in my job. I'm going to really miss you. I'm going to go and spend some time traveling around in America and so on. But that's not what came out. It was just horrible. And I went around apologizing to people that night, saying, I'm really sorry. I must have looked like such an idiot. And people said, oh, didn't really notice. Or some people said, oh, you're going to miss us, aren't you? You were emotional. But in my head, I thought, this is horrible. I can't afford to feel like this. This is so unpleasant. So there must be a way to improve. So the reason why it proved to be a really important speech for me was because it went so badly, because it was so uncomfortable. It prompted me to make a change. I'd never even considered joining a public speaking club until that point. And I thought, well, then there must be a way to improve. So I went looking, and that's how I came across Toastmasters. And what, of course, I've learned since from my journey through Toastmasters is that the best speeches will trigger some kind of change in some way for audience members, and sometimes, of course, for the speaker too. Well, that speech certainly drove change for me. And of course, in the years since, I've told the story of that leaving drink speech many times. And of course, for so many people, it's been reassuring to know that, yeah, it's okay to have a bad experience. The question is, what do you do with that bad experience? And so when I work with people who are more nervous speaking in public, and to hear that, given the experience I've had since with the World Championships and World of Professional Speaking and as a speaker coach and so on, to hear that I know what it feels like. So, I now often present myself as, I know what it's like to make pretty much every mistake it's possible to make in speaking. Do you know what? And we learn from that. And so as a result, it's resonated with lots of people. And so the story of that speech I think, I'd like to think at least, has made a difference for people, if only to reassure them that making mistakes and things not going as well as you want, that's okay. The question is, what do you do next?
Wonderful, Simon. And it reminds me of quite a few speakers who reach out when they need mentoring support to say, how do I make an impact? They are always looking at, creating an impact without realizing that, as you rightly said, the impact could be on you as a speaker. And wonderful takeaways: make sure that you're uncomfortable and make that change, because most of us get so comfortable in our cozy day jobs or the way things we do, that we tend to forget that there's always life beyond the comfort zone. And I'm reminded, and this is one of my favorite quotes, which I keep repeating at every Toastmasters forum. Forgive me if you are hearing this for the nth time. Standards are set by norms, but there's always a different way to do things. And that's what makes world champions. Thank you so much. And I can only say that from what you shared, Simon, explore, experiment, and enjoy, and you will find the speech that you really want to deliver that will make an impact. And now we come back to the first champion on the virtual space. So Lindy, over to you. Please go ahead.
When you ask about the speech that made a difference, what I think about is not the one that I won this year on the final stage, but the speech that got me from the club all the way through semifinals, because I lived with that speech for much longer. Although it isn't in the minds of those who saw me on the final stage, it's certainly big in my experience. And it also is more representative of the process that I go through with speeches than my final speech was. When I begin a speech, I always feel like I'm in the dark. There's some little seed of something that means something to me. I'm a writer first before a speaker. So I sit down and I put things on the paper, because you have to have something on the paper before you can edit it, right? So it just has to be something, and then you begin. And so it is with speaking. The first time I do it, I sort of have a vague notion of what it's about. And then after I get feedback, it gets a little bit clearer, and then a little bit clearer. So for me, it's like going from a dark tunnel, toward light. I have a friend who thinks, okay, here's the message I want to give, and here's the stories that back it up. It's never that clear for me, never. I don't ever know until what it's really about until after I've delivered it and delivered it and delivered it. And that's part of the magic of it, really. It's a frightening process because it's not something I feel in control of. I have to surrender to it. And therefore it's very creative and very exciting and terrifying. Yes.
Thank you, Lindy, for that wonderful share. And what I can, definitely take back from what you shared with us is, it's not important about the destination, but the journey which makes you a champion. And the steps are as important as the final milestone. And I love the fact that you said you are a writer first before you are a speaker. So writing it on paper makes a big difference. And that's something which I have been pushing across for all the speakers, saying that just write it down. We have everything available in the biggest hard disk that we've got. But when it's time to deliver, you need to make sure that it's precise and it delivers what it is expected to. And also the fact that keep on delivering, that's something which many of us, and I'm sure there will be questions around here where people would ask, what is it that motivates you to keep on delivering, because most of us would want to deliver to win. So we'll come back to that question. Thank you so much for this wonderful share, Lindy. And now we go back to the man whose book awoke at around 2:33 a.m. in the morning. Kingi, take it up. It's up to you.
It is 7 minutes past 3 in the morning, in the future. So I think for me, I am in New Zealand. We have, and I want to acknowledge everybody who is being affected individually or with your own families with COVID. Here in New Zealand, we have our own. We have what we have called lockdown, and one of the things that I do to look after myself is to watch Netflix and Prime, Amazon. Now, on Prime Amazon, there's this new TV series called Goliath. I just think it's fantastic. Billy Bob Thornton plays an amazing lawyer. Now, why am I telling you this? It's because I want all of my friends to watch that program so that they can get the same enjoyment themselves that I get for myself. And that's how that's what I look for in speeches, is that it's awesome to say the speech, but if you look at what Muhammad said, it's like, keep your eyes open, and then when you find something, you ask yourself, is this something that I want to share with my friends? Now, most of the time the answer is yes or no, but also when we're in Toastmasters, it's like a family. So if there's something that you've seen, something that's moved you, something that's touched you, and it's had your life move from one place to another, then it needs to be shared. And the beauty of writing a story, or the beauty of telling a story, delivers that message so that it impacts somebody powerfully in their life. That's how I find. I become a messenger. A messenger for those, a messenger with words of dignity for those who feel they are without, and a messenger with words of worth for those who need to be clothed in the power of their own dignity. That's what I look for. So every speech that I give and every speech that I listen to, I think that they're just gifts from the person who's saying it. So messages are about sharing. They're just beautiful things like that. You go share, woo, like that. Like Facebook, you share, woo, like that.
Thank you so much, Kingi, for that. Well, for me, what I can summarize is internalize the story. Be aware that there are opportunities where you will find stories to tell, and tell a story to deliver the messenger, deliver the message, and be the messenger. Wonderful, Kingi, and I think most of us get caught in the trap that there needs to be something really life changing that needs to happen to deliver a message, which is something I believe is a misconception. Case in point, just recently I just released a video on Friday on this. Is there is this coconut seller who delivers coconuts in my society every single day. So I ordered for 2, and occasionally he would drop 3, and I would send him a message saying, I don't need 3, I just need 2. It continued for the entire month until the time it was time for me to pay him. When I paid him, he just charged me for 2 per day. And I asked him, why were you delivering the extra coconuts? He said, sir, each day the size of the coconuts were different. And I did not want you to feel shortchanged that I did not give you value of this. What a beautiful message that simple experience can communicate, provided we are in a position to tell the story. So you don't need a life-changing experience to change a story. And that's where we now move on to some wonderful questions that we have in store for the panelists. And we begin with maybe Simon. I think people have started posing the questions, but we'll get on to the audience questions a bit later. For you, when you failed the first time, what is it that made you keep going at the World Championship in spite of knowing the fact that, okay, I failed first time around? It's something inherent that you feel, oh, I don't need to do it, right?
Well, I think specifically when it comes to competitions, when you think about the World Championship, right, specifically with speech making, it's the most wonderful journey, the speech contest. It's not a destination in itself. Any contest is part of a speaker's journey. If you think about it, if let's say right now maybe it's 30-odd thousand people that enter each year. There's 2 ways of looking at it. One is to say, well, let's say it's 30,000 people that enter a competition each year, that whether it's the World Championship of Public Speaking or something else, you can say, well, one option is you say, well, 29,999 of them are going to be losers because there's only one winner. That's one way of looking at it, right? And people in this country, for example, when I first competed back in 2006, it's quite a long time ago now, I went through to Washington to the, as it was then, the inter-district, nowadays we know it as the semi-final, so, and didn't get through into the world final. But as far as anyone in the UK was concerned, and in Ireland, I was a quote unquote a winner because I'd won the district. But of course, for people that saw me compete in Washington, I did not win that contest. I didn't place in the top 3. And so it's all a matter of perspective. So anyway, the point is that you either see it as 29,999 people lose and one person wins, or you just see it as an opportunity where everybody gains, everybody wins in some way. And of course, winning is not about purely winning a trophy. It's about the satisfaction you take from the journey you take, the experience of crafting the speeches, the satisfaction of making some kind of impact. That's what makes it enjoyable. And I hadn't competed for a few years before I entered again in 2017, but I for years knew that I would want to re-enter at some point because it's a wonderful catalyst for developing new material, and you push yourself. And I didn't enter the competition thinking, oh, well, it's all about winning, or it's all about somehow making a difference to my profile from a professional speaker point of view. Genuinely, I just wanted to have the enjoyment of pushing myself, of forcing myself to create time to develop new content. I really connected with what Lindy was saying earlier about what her the speech that got her into the world final meant to her, means to her. I felt the same with Vancouver. I developed a brand new speech, totally fresh content at club level back in the February of 2017. And it went through enormous change through the rounds of the competition, including after winning at district level. The speech changed hugely from district through to world semi-final. And I think it was for the better. It was a most wonderful journey. It really was. And that's what made it worthwhile. And so I think that's the thing. It's all about having in your mind, what's your real motivation for competing? And if it's just winning for an end in itself, I'm not persuaded by that. That can be obviously an incentive to work really hard, to do the very best that you can as a speaker. But the last thing I'd say is this. I rewatched a film a few months ago called Cool Runnings. It's about the Jamaican bobsleigh team in the Winter Olympics. And there's a comment made by one of the characters in that film who says, if you feel you're not enough until you get an Olympic gold medal, you'll never feel enough even when you've got one. And I think there's real wisdom in that from Cool Runnings, right? So I think that's I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Thank you, Simon, for sharing that. And I still remember that egg from Cool Runnings. If you know what I'm talking about, the egg that the person carries around when he's in that bobsleigh. A wonderful reflection on that. Thank you so much for this share. Leave a lasting memory. Use as few words as possible, and strive with every fiber of your being to avoid being the type of person who rambles on and on with no end in sight, more likely that not causing more listeners to sit and think to themselves, oh my goodness, can somebody please make this stop? I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. This is the speech title which happened immediately after Mohammad Katani won the World Championship of Public Speaking in 2015. This was the title of Aaron Beverly's speech. So Mohammad, this question is to you, and probably you may add some thoughts to it. Do you really think that the speech title has an impact to the story that you're telling?
Well, I mean, like one thing I try to not do when I choose a speech title is, I always choose my speech title after I've done writing the speech. But the one thing that I try not to do is not to make the speech title just give away the speech. Because if you heard my title and you can tell where the speech is going to go, then the audience is going to lose interest from the first few. Like as soon as you started your the introduction, the audience already know where the speech is going to go and what you're going to be talking about. So the element of shock or to shock the audience is kind of gone by then. That's why In my speech, I chose the power of words, which I know it might sound cliche, but at the beginning, I started by smoking a cigarette and telling about, I mean, like a lot of, a lot of wrong information about smoking, and that what will make the audience think, wait a minute, power of words, smoking, I don't see the connection. And that's what you want. I mean, like that's the element that you want the audience to guess where is the connection between the two. So when choosing a speech title, try not to make the title just give away your speech too easy. I mean, like at the start.
Thank you, Mohammed. And I still remember that impactful opening you had with that cigarette and lighter, and the entire audience goes, "What?" Powerful start. So, we've heard that most of us have a different way of looking at how do we get into speech writing. Should I write it down? Should I have a mind map? And Lindy just touched upon it, so I'll pose this question to Lindy. Lindy, do you really think writing down your speech makes a difference, and how would it be different for someone who just keeps everything in memory and just rattles it out when it is required? Your thoughts, Lindy?
I think it depends entirely on who you are and how your brain works. But for me, I hate table topics, and the idea of being on a panel struck fear into my heart, because speaking extemporaneously is not my forte at all. I do much better when I have the words. I wouldn't call it memorized, let's call it internalized, because you've done it so many times, it just comes out without thinking about it. But I do choose the words carefully, and that I do through writing them down, and that it just comes more naturally to me. I don't say that there's a right or a wrong way. That's simply the way that creating it works best for me. And also it ensures that I can express myself precisely and fully, where speaking extemporaneously, I can't guarantee that I won't be going, so, right. So writing works for me for that reason.
Yeah, to each its own. Thank you, Lindy, for sharing that. And now I come back to Kingi. Kingi, this is probably a question that most storytellers or people who deliver powerful speeches have, is should I write a story or tell a story that sells, or sell a story that sticks?
Can you say that again 5 times quickly?
Should I tell a story that sells, or should I sell a story that sticks?
Wow. Thank you very much for that awesome question there. They're brilliant. I can only, just like Lindy, I can only talk about my own experiences, but I think stories, especially the work that we do, and messages are gifts that don't belong to us. They're given to us, and it is our job to walk alongside those messages, those stories. And just like you're talking about, Lindy, when you say, because I think one of the most beautiful parts of the whole journey is when you start right at the beginning, your speech looks like this, but at the end of the day, you have no idea what it looks like. And for me, that's the exciting part, is to see what it looks like, because our goal is, for me, is to be a servant of the message. And when we become a servant of the message, we look for some, because there was a family that I gave a speech about my dad, who was going through medical tests at that particular time. I would take Dad for the tests, and the tests were really uncomfortable for him. But one day I had to go to another town to do some work on the day that Dad was giving a speech. Dad had to go to the medical clinic. I couldn't be there for Dad, and Dad was really worried. And what I promised I'd do is, the meeting was at 2. I would hold my hand like this at 2 o'clock, even though I was in another city, just so that Dad knew that he was never alone. He knew that his son was right with him, even though I wasn't there physically. I was holding his hand, and Dad could hold his hand as well and know that I was there. at the end of our district speech contest, I had won. At that time, it meant I could then go to Malaysia. This is the beautiful thing that happened. A grandmother came up to me after that contest and shared how her daughter was in hospital and her granddaughter was living with the grandmother just while mum was in the hospital. And what the grandmother was going to do was to tell the story, to tell our story, Kingy and Dad's story, so that even though the daughter couldn't be with the mum, whenever she felt that she needed to be close to her mum, she could squeeze her hand. And so the grandmum told the mother that as well, so that every 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock and 7, the mum and daughter would hold their hands, would squeeze their hands, even though they weren't together. So for me, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, for me, it's about nothing when I speak, and for all of us here, especially Mohammed, when I watched your speech, it was beautiful, is that I don't say a speech to sell. My speeches are to touch, to inspire, and to move. And that's the beauty of the human spirit. And we're given that opportunity by using our speeches and our messages and the books that we write to do that. Be human to connect, it's to be human to touch. And how I do it and how I like to do it is through my speeches and the sharing of the messages.
Thank you so much for that. It's about the connection. When I started, I spoke about the connection that a speaker builds, and thank you so much for reinforcing that. And I'm sure most of the people who are aspiring to be speakers, and it seems like an irony to me that today, if you just open LinkedIn, every second person has motivational speaker as their title. So I think we need to go beyond that and really see if we have touched people by the messaging and if there is that connect that we could make. Thank you so much, Kingy. Wonderful point made. And this is something which even the audience members have asked, and probably, you can take turns in 30 seconds each, could give a response to it. How many times do you think you should practice? And don't you get bored by practicing the same speech time and time again? I mean, even for me, if you ask me to do this 10 times, I'll say, oh, we've done it. Why should I do it again? So when it comes to speeches and your journey towards the world championship, it starts with the club, the area, the division, district, the semifinals, and the world championship. It's a long journey. But at the same time, in between those steps, you have so many practice sessions that you do. So take it up. You can start in any order, whoever wants to go first. Simon has unmuted himself. So Simon.
Yes, I saw a really interesting interview with, I saw an interview with Anthony Hopkins a while ago. Can you hear me okay? Is it connecting? Yeah.
Yes.
The Oscar-winning actor, Anthony Hopkins. And he was being interviewed on how he prepared for roles. He reads a script out loud when preparing for a role 250 times before he starts actually rehearsing. He said, there's nothing special about 250 times. I'm just a bit of a perfectionist, you see, but I find that's helpful to get the part into my blood. So now that's what works for him. He's not saying you have to do that. But the point is that I think what that says to me is if you want to deliver a speech word for word and sound natural, to really fully internalize it, be prepared to have to invest a lot of time. I think when speeches sound rehearsed, it's not because they're over rehearsed, it's because they're under rehearsed. So that's the first thing. The second thing, though, as an idea, I think that comes to me is I think it was Ian Holm, who's an actor who plays I think he was talking about him in playing Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit, I think it was, or in Lord of the Rings. Of course, filmed in New Zealand. So, and the director of the film, I think it was Peter. I've forgotten his. Anyway, we're talking about Ian Holm as an actor. He said every time we shot Ian Holm performing a particular piece of dialogue, it was slightly different each time. And then it was for me as the director to decide how best to patch that together. In other words, he was giving me options, and I think that's something to consider. It's tempting to think that running through and working through a speech repeatedly, you're just trying to get to one kind of perfect end goal and trying to do it exactly the same each time. I don't think that you have to. There's a lot to be said for just trying it a bit differently here. Maybe the gestures are a bit different. Maybe the tone of voice is different. Maybe embellishing here. So you're actually all the time exploring, discovering new things about the speech, where it could go, how it could be put across, rather than just trying to get to one single perfect outcome. Because it's speaking is a living, breathing thing. I think the last thing I'd say is that it is remembering that it's an experience for you as a speaker and for the audience. I don't know how many times I've used the word "the" in this answer, but I don't get bored of using the word "the" in everyday life, or bored of using the word, I don't know, at dinner time, because it's always in a different situation. So, and I think the same is true with speech making. It's always a different situation. It's always, and therefore there's always freshness to it. And that's what keeps it live, I think, and meaningful for me. Peter Jackson, there we go. Suddenly it pops into my head. The director. Sorry, back to you. Brilliant.
I would like to say, like, when it comes to practicing your speech, just keep in mind every time you do, there's a lot of people who are going to give you a lot of feedback, and some of that feedback might be valid, and the other ones is maybe it's their own way of saying, if that was my speech, I would have given it that way. But keep in mind, at the end, it's yours. So yes, you can like listen to people, you can get feedback, but if you start to change it, to change your speech to the point that it's not what you wanted to say in the first place, then maybe you should take like a step back.
I would say, go ahead, Kingy. Go ahead.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I think for me, when I practice my speech, it's about getting to know the speech. Not just get to know the speech as and get to know the words, but to get to know the speech, because for 6 or 7 months, you'll be spending a lot of time with that speech. So it's always nice to get to know the speech, get this feel of the speech, so that ultimately it becomes, I know what the word is in Māori, but ultimately it becomes a companion. Often when I finish competitions, I thank the speech for coming to visit me and send the speech along its way. My second thing that I'd like to say is that when you practice your speech, the beautiful thing is that when you practice your speech, other ideas start to come along, and then that actually helps you. It's like what a carver does when they're carving particular statues, or whatever is that they carve, is that it's in the finer points. When you practice, better ways of saying a particular line, more authentic, genuine ways of saying a line comes out. And that's one of the beauties. And the other thing too is sometimes if it seems boring to you, then it's working.
I would say that you must pick material that's meaningful enough to you. And I don't necessarily say you have to feel one way or another, but you must feel deeply about it, because you will be delivering it again and again. So pick something that has meaning and that you're willing to go on a journey with. And then I really loved what Simon said, especially on camera, being able to deliver something authentically is really the charm. That means not necessarily saying it the same way every time, which means you need to know it well enough or feel it well enough that you can do it a little differently. When actors are on stage, they do what's called working off of each other. In other words, the words they're saying are not so much always about the words as they are about responding to how the heck the other person is affecting them. And that's really hard when you're just speaking to a little green light. And one of my tricks that I'm going to show you right now is that I have a little photo of the person who helps me practice on Zoom. Well, you can't really see her, but it's a tiny one inch by 1 inch, and I tape it right below my camera, and I talk to her because that's a real face, and having real eyes to speak to while you're looking at a green light makes all the difference. Otherwise, your eyes can go blank, or it can look like you're not really, I mean, you're saying something, but your eyes are somewhere else and you look like an automaton. Even if you're using vocal variety, if your eyes aren't engaged, then you look like you aren't really there. So there's another section of the art when it comes to the fact that we're doing it on camera from home without an audience.
Thank you.
Can
Thank
I
you,
just
Lindy,
come in
for
there? I
that.
think that is such an important point. And I'm thinking here from the point of view of not just of speech making, but of workplace communication, if it is virtual, just that point about the picture to humanize the encounter, so that when you're speaking to camera, you're not just speaking at the camera, but actually talking to the person or the people that you imagine on the other side of the camera. And I think it feels like that is a way, if you can achieve that, it really will distinguish you when compared to many people communicating in a workplace environment. I think that's just a wonderful tip, the idea of the photo of somebody that really means something to you. I think that's fab.
I do agree. In fact, the immediate quote that comes to anyone's mind about practice is, practice makes a man or a woman perfect. But I would like to modify the statement by saying, practice makes a man or a woman perfect only if they do it the right way. And it's not about what you practice, but how you practice. So wonderful tips, Lindy, about that photo. I think most of us would be more than happy to have a face, a person to look up to and speak in the virtual world. So Lindy, this question comes from Vijay Surana to you. And this is probably a personal question where he says, what's that one thing that drives us in our second innings? And this comes from a person who's pursuing law at the age of 38, where he feels that he's always almost about a decade delayed in pursuing law. Lindy, over to you.
Life is always about perspective, and your journey about feeling too old you can feel too old at 35, you can feel too old at 75. And so it's not ever about the age, and always about what's in your heart and what you're willing to open yourself up to next. I think so often in life there come those, for I think every one of us, there comes some dark spot where things close down and we think, to heck with this. I'm not going forward. It's not worth it. It hurts too much, whatever is going on. And that's the moment at which you then get to, instead of just being born into life, you get to choose. You get to choose. And that's the beauty of it, is to say, okay, I have whatever journey I have. I know I have today. I don't know what else I have. So how am I going to live today? And if that's in law school, go
Lindy.
for it.
Thank you for that. It's, most of us worry that we've begun late, but it's important to remember that we've at least started. That's the purpose that should be the driving factor for all of us. Thank you so much. And I think this question would probably be answered, so I'll not take it up. It's about the practice. So I think all of us have heard from the panelists. Yeah, this is an interesting question which has come up, saying that there are times when a good speaker also fails to convey the emotion or the taste of a speech. Is there any situation that you have personally gone through? Any one of you, if you would like to share, and how did you overcome that?
If I may
So I'll
just
repeat the question for the...
I think
Mohammed.
I mean, like ever since I won the championship, I've been to a lot of like districts all over the world, and in every district I've seen the same thing happen, like in every international speech contest, because I always make sure that I attend the international speech contest in every district. And the same thing happens, which is you get you always get a speaker who does everything by the book. Stage movement, check. Voice, check. Structure, check. Message, check. Everything checks out. But you listen to that person, you're thinking, I don't know. Something is not right. I don't feel it. And then after that, a person comes in, usually with a broken English, with a broken grammar, with a broken pronunciation. But that person speaks, and you can tell that person really wants to say what he wants to say, or like what she wants to say. they speak from the heart. And in every district conference I've been to, the second person always wins, always. So yes, in Toastmasters, we learn all this stuff about the technicality of a speech, how to move and how to use body gestures and voice and whatever. But to be honest with you guys, all the stuff that we learn, you can just take it and throw it away. If it doesn't come from here, nobody would listen.
I think.
Thank you for that, Mohammed. Thanks a lot.
If I may, can I just add to that this point
Yes,
about
please.
not getting too distracted by technique, I think certainly resonates with me over the years. And there's been times when I've got it right, and there's times when I've definitely made a mess of it and got it wrong, for sure. I think when I look back, when preparing speeches, the most time-consuming part of the process has not been staging or even necessarily the wordsmithing or the gestures or all that stuff, vocal variety and those sorts of things. It's been getting clear on what the speech is really about and getting to a point where you think, okay, now I feel truly connected with it. And I can think of my speech in the semi-final in Vancouver. That was definitely the case. And for a variety of reasons, actually, in the world final, and partly because I did incorporate feedback from other folk, which I think actually I shouldn't have incorporated in the final. I actually myself didn't really feel it in the same way as I had done with the semi-final speech. And so I think I think what you'll find is that you'll know you're onto something with your speech when you actually physically feel it. In other words, trust your body, your gut. You'll physically react to stuff. You'll feel a tingle. You'll find yourself smiling or chuckling, just the thought about something. You'll feel your body will tell you the answer instinctively, without even being able to control it. You will actually really feel it. And sometimes it can take quite a lot of time to get to the root of that. And just last thing I'd say is this, that sometimes you'll find that goes back to the point about being open to ideas, I think, that Mohammed said earlier in this conversation, that sometimes those moments of where you really feel something in everyday life can just pop up almost accidentally and just in conversations or over dinner time. And actually, if you can then capture that, log that, and then bring that to a speech, that can be real gold and beat endless hours sweating over a Word document or a PowerPoint slide.
Yep, agree with you, Simon.
And
this question is, Lindy, you have something to say?
I was just going to add that.
Yeah, please.
Now I lost my train of thought. Darn it. Well, I'll come back. I'll say it later if I remember.
No worries.
Excuse me.
No problem. And this question is a bit of a surprise to me because it's directed at Kingi, and the question, I found it a bit amusing as well. The question is, how do you keep yourself so energetic on stage?
Fall in love with the speech.
Hang on.
That's what I do. I just fall in love with the speech. Then when I'm on stage,
thank you for answering that.
Yeah, that's it. Fall in love with the speech, become the speech, and then share the speech. It all comes down to it just comes down to what everyone is saying in terms of being authentic, being genuine. Find a speech that moves you. If the speech doesn't move you, that's okay. That's for somebody else, and it'll move them. And if you can do that, and you're wanting to share that speech with everybody, the excitement will always come out. Because that's just what happens when I was young. I used to go to watch kung fu movies, Bruce Lee movies, and we used to come out of the movies like, and then we tell our friends about the movies. Oh, and he did this. Oh, and he did that. You need to go and see that, because that's just what we did. My gosh, I can touch your life. Ooh, you need to do that too. Power of words, things like that. And that's why, because I just get, my heart lights up, and the opportunity and the privilege and the honor that it is to share the story that's chosen me.
Thank you, Kingi. And in fact, it takes me down memory lane when you spoke about Bruce Lee. I remember walking out of the movie theaters and becoming Bruce Lee for 5 minutes, and then realizing, oh, we are not made of that stuff. You are like, I would say, be the speech. The next is an interesting
I remember
question.
what I was going to say, which was on top of what Simon was saying, was to be willing to go into emotional territory that feels uncomfortable. That when there's a topic that you feel completely confident about and control of, it's probably the wrong topic. That feeling slightly uncomfortable, slightly on the edge, a little bit vulnerable is going to make you much more accessible to the audience.
Yeah,
I think Muhammad's the way he talked about the speaker who was speaking about global warming. I've never laughed so hard as last night. That was hilarious.
That's amazing. Yeah. So this is now directed to the way in which contests are being looked upon. This question comes up, and about judging, the way in which contests are judged. Have you ever been surprised by the results of the judging during your journey towards the speech towards the World Championship, including your speech saying, "Oh, I didn't expect to win, but I won." So we have to be fair, right? So
Actually, yes. In fact, I really didn't think there is any chance in hell I would win when I won, but it happened. And the reason why, because you see, a lot of people, they watch the person who won, but they never watch the other 10 or the other 8 or the other 5. And I was privileged to be among some of the greatest speakers that I've ever had to actually witness, and to come. And I was the last speaker actually in my finals. But when I came in, I think because my speech has a lot of humor in it, and people started to laugh, and the audience got a bit too loud. And just keep in mind, the judges are still people too. So when they see the reactions of the audience, they're laughing, whatever, that start to mess with their minds, and they might actually score you high just because of that. I do remember, like one of the best speeches I've ever heard was the guy who spoke, who was the second speaker at my finals, and he was he was a priest, and his speech title was "I fell in love with a prostitute." And he was speaking about this girl who got raped by her father and then got thrown in the streets, and now she became a prostitute. And the story is so dark and so, like, I was so touched. I thought, this guy should actually win this, because this is the message that I want the world to hear. But it's kind of sad that the only way that you can win if you incorporate a little bit of humor into your speech.
Yeah.
I think, which I do think it's a bit unfair, because sometimes you might have a really strong message, but maybe humor is not your thing, and you don't get to share that message to the entire world.
Although I will say this year, Linda Marie Miller threw that to the breeze. She got second place and she didn't have a touch of humor in hers. So it's arguable now.
True. So this is for all the panel members. One book that you would recommend people to read on public speaking. I know it may sound cliched, but probably the expectation is that they find some additional books or resources that they can read. Any books you recommend who are interested to become public speakers? Simon? Yeah.
There are many books that are worth reading, but if you were to ask me to pick one, which people may not have read, it's Dale Carnegie. Actually, you may have come across How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a classic and all that, but he also wrote a book on public speaking. I think how to gain confidence and influence people through public speaking. And the reason I recommend it is for two reasons. The first is it was written a long time ago, so there is a sense of perspective. It's not something that's just been put together recently in light of TED conferences and so on. It was written a long time ago, and I think has some fundamental ideas that are of real value. And the second reason is, and stood the test of time, if you like. And the second reason is because you can capture the core message of that book in one sentence, which is talk to people. It really humanizes, I think, what public speaking is about. Talk to people rather than worrying about getting it perfect and delivering it immaculately and remembering everything. It's just talk to people rather than getting too caught up on perfection. And I think that's a really valuable insight. Dale Carnegie, How to Gain Confidence and Influence People Through Public Speaking.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks for that. Any other books? Anyone has a recommendation?
I actually, in fact, I don't read, but no, actually, the way I just look at it is speaking is like swimming. I can give you a book that will teach you how to swim, and you can read the whole book, but you're never gonna swim until you actually try it out. So I never actually, I mean, like I've never read any books on like public speaking, but I think the more that you speak, the more that you start to feel what the audience want to see and you can tell if your audience are enjoying your talk or are they getting bored, and you fix it as you go along.
Agree with you there. Mohammed very rightly said. But yes, there are books, there are sellers who keep selling books, and some of the books I have really loved, and it's not just because the entire book is good, but there are certain elements from the books which you can take back. And one thing which I personally recommend people is don't try to ape someone else. If you do that, you become a monkey, and people are not looking for a monkey. They want to have someone who's actually out there to touch your heart, who's out there to say, this is what it is. And as Kingi had rightly said, you need to build that connection so that even if I'm not there present physically and I'm touching him, he knows, yes, I'm there with him in that moment. So that's the power of a speech that we should be looking at. And one last question as we conclude the panel is, which personality outside of Toastmasters inspire you? One personality that inspires you outside of Toastmasters. And this is a conscious question. I think most of the time we get responses in terms of Toastmaster members. So any personality
Okay.
who's a good speaker.
I mean, like I'll start. Mine might be a bit of a cliche, but I think like Nelson Mandela, not because he was a speaker, but because the guy was locked down for more than 2 decades in solitary confinement, and then he was let go, and he was given so much power that he could have abused and took revenge on those who actually locked him up for that long, but he chose to do what's right for the people. And I think it takes a lot of like willpower for a person not to seek revenge after someone has been wronging you for that long of a time. And that, for me, is a person that I aspire to kind of just follow in the footsteps.
Thank you. Thanks, Mohammed. So, Lindy, your personality outside of Toastmasters?
Many of my chosen inspirations are actors, and I use that term for both genders. Meryl Streep is one of them, because she devotes herself so fully to her craft that she surrenders to it and she goes so deeply, and it's just completely an inspiration. And
thank you for that. Kingi.
Yes, I am a Martin Luther King fan. Why is that? That is because I love his imagery. I love his quotes. Just have a couple here. Darkness cannot drive out light. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. The time is always right to do what is right. He uses words to paint pictures. And that's what I love to do. That's what I like about Martin Luther King. And as a speaker, in terms of a messenger.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Simon?
For me, I'm cheating here because there are two really, but Michelle Obama, I think, is stunning. I don't mean for reasons I'm not talking about going into the words of the politics, but because of just her humanity, and to see her on a mission, working with, speaking to and inspiring, particularly young women, of course, but also more wide than that. I think there's humor and humanity and passion and clarity of insight and so on. I think she's also just a wonderful speaker. And the second is Ken Robinson, who became famous publicly as a result of a TED talk he gave, "Do Schools Kill Creativity?" He is British, but wonderful storyteller. I think a great example of somebody that is just so natural, so conversational. He actually died just a few months ago, a few weeks ago. But if you haven't checked out his TED talk, "Do Schools Kill Creativity?" it's well worth looking at. I think it's the most downloaded popular TED talk still to this day. No slides. There may have been a script. I'm sure he internalized his content, but it comes across as having a conversation with an audience. And I don't think you'll find a better example of a storyteller in action.
Perfect. Thank you, Simon, and all the panelists. In fact, it was not asked, but I will also share. For me, it's an actor, an Indian actor, Ashish Vidyarthi. And I have seen him and I have seen how he internalizes, personalizes stories, and he creates the impact based on the audience that he addresses. And I have seen almost about 10 different sessions that he conducted. And each time he had an impact so powerful that at least 10% of the audience went back thinking, wow, this is something which we should do. So it really doesn't matter. And as Kingi and all of you have rightly said, it's not about the language, it's not about the words, it's not about what you're doing, it's about the connect that you build. And I'm reminded of the great dictator speech Chaplin gave, a very powerful one.
Yes.
And it starts by saying, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone. And that's what I believe should be the objective for every speaker. Help people. Speeches move people to action. It can build. And thanks to Toastmasters, we have such a wonderful platform where we can continue to sharpen our skills. Today's panel was one such icing on the cake, and I wish we had more time. I truly, truly wish that we could spend a lot more to understand about how we can make ourselves better. And these are the members who made sure that they shared and helped us understand what made them successful. We have so much to learn and it will continue. And I would like to thank Orate 20 for organizing this panel. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Lindy. Thank you, Kingi, for the wonderful experience sharing that you gave. And of course, the audience for their active participation in the form of questions, the hosts for managing it well. I'm very happy to sign off with some wonderful takeaways that I'm sure I will incorporate into my speeches starting tomorrow. Thank you. Stay safe. Until we meet again, keep touching lives. Over to you, Master of Ceremonies.
There was so much wisdom packed in that session. I think a whole lot of us are going to go over the recording at least a few times. Thank you to all the panelists and the moderator for that fantastic session. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm certain so did everyone else. We would now like to express our gratitude to tonight's panelists and the moderator for sharing their time and wisdom with us so generously. Thank you, Toastmaster Mohammed Katani.
Wow.
Thank you, Toastmaster Simon Bucknell. Thank you, Toastmaster Lindy McLean. Thank you, Toastmaster Kingi Bill. And thank you to tonight's moderator, distinguished Toastmaster Brilliant.
Thank you. This virtual trophy is also one interesting takeaway. Thank you so much.
Let us now move on to the next part, the launch of Area G1 newsletter. She's an engineer by passion and profession. She's interested in Indian epics, a Toastmaster since 2016, served as VP PR, VP Education, Sergeant at Arms, and currently serving as VP Membership in Oracle Hyderabad Toastmaster Club. Let me welcome to the spotlight the newsletter chair, Toastmaster Nikita.
It's an amazing evening indeed. Special thanks to Lindy, Kingi, Simon, and Mohammed Katani. It was great getting to know you guys and learn about your journey in the path of success. A loud cheer to the whole Area Jeevan team. Jeevan means life in Sanskrit. And as we all know, Toastmasters have given a life-changing experiences to each one of us over here. And hence, our newsletter name is chosen to be Jeevan. In this past 5 months, we have amazing experiences in various events at the area level. Just like how we gather our memories in a photo album, similarly, I made an effort to gather all our experiences together in this edition of the newsletter. Team, it's our moment to be proud of what we have learned and where we are heading towards. I would like to welcome our dashing area director, Toastmaster Gagan, to launch the first edition of our newsletter, Jeevan. Over to you, Toastmaster Gagan.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Nikita. And thank you so much for the wonderful panelist and moderator who has given the fantabulous speech. Thank you so much for giving your thoughts and answers. Now, let me open the newsletter and dedicate the first copy to all the panelists and moderator. I declare the newsletter open. Thank you. Yeah, please share. The newsletter covers our entire activities of Jeevan from last 4 months, which we have done all the things in our Jeevan with support of all the area members. The mentoring program we have done, and finally panel discussion, and tomorrow we have other day 2 session, and all other things were covered in our newsletter. Yeah, these are all some posters you can see from last 4 months which we have done as an area. Evaluation marathon, table topic tournament, and education sessions, and many more. And thank you, over to you, Nikita.
Thank you, Gagan. Hope you guys enjoyed this version of the newsletter and much more to come. And I would like to say thank you heartfully to every one of you. Over to you, Anirudh.
Thank you, Toastmaster Gagan and Toastmaster Nikita. I would now like to take a few moments to recognize our social partners for the event, Teach for Change. Teach for Change is a nationwide movement to improve literacy among primary school children studying in government-run schools. The movement works in collaboration with state governments to fulfill this goal. As a part of movement, committed citizens contribute their time and volunteer to teach children in their neighborhood government schools. Their vision is high quality education for all, regardless of the family's income, and their mission is to build a nationwide movement to transform our government schools. Let us now all watch an introductory video of this wonderful organization.
My name is Sajid Fatima. My name is Bhavani. My name is M. Shravani. I want to join the Indian Army. I want to be a police officer. My goal is to touch Everest.
Everyone has a right to quality education. And equal opportunity is the most important challenge of our children today. But today, access to education depends on where you live, your parents' income, and your social status. Our children are worth fighting for. Teach for Change is a movement that is breaking the cycle of injustice through teaching and leadership. A student's ability to successfully take on life beyond school is heavily dependent upon their level of confidence.
Majority of the children in India today use the government schools as a medium of education. I do not consider these kids underprivileged. The potential and possibility that these kids have is equal to any other kid in this world. My dream for every kid that we work with is that we leave an impact which is life-changing and path-breaking. The major gap between a government school kid and a private school kid is the communication ability and the leadership qualities. So we started this program called Teach for Change, where we would get volunteers from all walks of life who could contribute their time to teaching English and leadership program in government schools.
I have 2 boys, aged 5 and 7 years. Spending time with them is actually teaching them. Then I realized they already have an overdose of education in the private schools. Then I thought, okay, let me teach for underprivileged children.
From the childhood, I have a dream other than for myself, I need to do something for the society.
I am a retired man and I have done a lot of job. I feel something to give to society back.
Kids have immense potential. My father himself came from a small village and he's done quite well for himself just because he had the right mentors at the right point of time who really motivated him. So the reason I do this is for the kids.
So we run a 2-hour every Saturday volunteering program where anybody who has the passion to teach and who would like to work in the area of government schools can join in. It's a 30-weekend teaching program with Teach for Change.
We recruit volunteers who have the ability to inspire and motivate. Our language and leadership programs help our children build their ability to believe in themselves and in believing in their futures.
So an integral part of Teach for Change is not just English, but we are also working on the leadership modules.
The confidence you have at a particular age, it really is reflected in you when you grow up. Leadership abilities which are inculcated in you at that particular age, it makes a big difference.
We need to concentrate on developing their personality, teach them basic hygiene, cleanliness. All those things can't be taught to a 30-year-old or a 50-year-old. This has to start from school level.
We have sessions wherein we select a person from a class, make them a leader. They maintain discipline in the class. They arrange everything, duster, the chalks, they wipe the board. The best gift you can give anybody is education.
Our programs help our students bridge the monumental confidence gaps between I think I can to I can, I will, and I did. Our children's progress is a testament to our volunteers' passion and commitment to usher in the change we need in our classrooms.
The communication is very important in these days. So children are very much benefited by this, and we are very happy to have this program in our school, and we are indeed very grateful for the organization.
Every volunteer who has taught in a Teach for Change classroom has come back that it's a life-changing experience and they're working to transform every kid's life, and that is so empowering not just for the kids but also for the volunteer in their personal lives.
So if they find somebody who's a good teacher, who's teaching English for them, if they are able to learn something, they'll be so happy. And that happiness on their faces will make us definitely more happy.
When I see them, I really feel this is a future generation which is coming up.
The little things, they actually came to me. They all wished me, happy Friendship Day. They gave me chocolates when it's their birthdays. I feel like I'm a part of their lives.
When we help children realize their potential and their possibilities, they will shine and make a difference to their classrooms, homes, and communities at large. We are working and bringing everyone together, government, corporate, celebrities, to create a positive and a long-lasting impact. Yet, we still have a long way to go. And we need your help.
We will live, we will achieve, we will make money, and we will die. What will live long after us, resonate truly, is the fact that we touched a single human life that lives on and celebrates its existence and becomes a fantastic example because you did something about it.
You've lived in this world and your experiences are invaluable. Shakespeare once wrote that all the world's a stage and that each of us plays a part. Will you play your part in this movement? Join us and help change our children's lives.
Be the change, teach for change.
Be the change.
Teach for change.
Be the change, teach for change.
Be that change.
Teach for change.
Be the change, teach for change.
Before we move on to the next segment, if you'd like to take a group picture with all the attendees, I request everyone to start their cameras for a quick group picture. We have everyone. Sarah, you're doing it?
I'll request the Zoom master to do that, and let's wait for another 5 seconds if anyone is missed turning on. We see few of them still trying to turn on the video. So let's wait for another 5 seconds and I'll request the Zoom master to click. Lalita and Abhishek, give us a heads up when you're clicking so that we can smile.
That's a good one.
Smile, guys. Keep smiling. I believe there are 2 screens. Done? Thank you. Over to
Thank you,
MC.
everyone. Let us now move on to the Area 1 award ceremony. These are semi-annual awards and we have 5 categories. First, the Rising Star. Can we have the screen share? Certifying rising as a star and shining like a sun, in working beyond limitless expectations of the club, in creating a mark not for themselves alone, but very much higher for the club. Our first rising star from the club Vision Master is Toastmaster Newman.
Lalita, can you please share the PPT? Not able to see the screen.
Yes.
Okay, I believe there's some issues. Let me share that then if there's a problem. Yeah, thank you, Lalita.
Yeah, our first award, like for Rising Star, is for Norman from Vision Toastmasters. Congratulations, Norman.
Next rising star from the club Oracle Hyderabad Toastmaster is Toastmaster Vaishnavi. Congratulations, Vaishnavi. Next rising star from the club HRDC Toastmaster, Toastmaster Mani Prasanna. Congratulations, Mani. And the next rising star from the club CKM Toastmasters is Toastmaster Prem Nayak. Congratulations, Prem. The second category of award is Best Contributor. You're happiest while you're making the greatest contribution. On the same note, certifying Toastmasters in making the best contributions concurrently towards the welfare of club being and its members in attaining utmost contentment. Tonight's first best contributor is from the club CKM Toastmasters, Toastmaster Sagarika. Congratulations, Sagarika. Next is from the club HRDC Toastmasters, Toastmasters Jesh Nayak. Congratulations, Jesh. Next is from the club Oracle Hyderabad Toastmasters, is Toastmasters Lakshmi. Congratulations, Lakshmi. And next is from the club Vision Toastmasters, Toastmaster Ganesh. Congratulations, Ganesh. The third category of the award is Emerging Toastmasters. Speaking and participating to set out a difference as emerging leader is acclaimed. Speaking of which, Area G1 recognizes the Toastmasters who have newly joined Toastmasters International and have been participating to contribute to the area initiatives and stood apart from the crowd. Tonight's first emerging Toastmasters is from the club HRDC Toastmasters, Toastmasters Sini. Congratulations, Sini. Second is from CKM Toastmasters, Toastmasters Sargundip. Congratulations, Sargundip. Third, from the Toastmasters Club Oracle Hyderabad Toastmasters is Toastmasters Yogeshri. Congratulations. And the last is from Vision Toastmasters, Toastmasters Ganesh. Congratulations. Tonight's next category of award is Best Toastmaster of Area. Shining and emerging at the area level from repeated efforts, contributions, support to plan any event given, handy, meticulously, has truly spotlighted the best Toastmasters of Area G1. Deep pleasure in recognizing from Area G1 of Toastmasters for various collaborations beyond area with constant support, commitment, and drive. Tonight's first best Toastmaster of Area G1 is from the club HRDC Toastmasters, Toastmaster Sriram. Congratulations. Next is from Oracle Hyderabad Toastmasters, Toastmasters Nikita. Congratulations. Next is from Oracle Toastmasters again, Toastmasters Lalita. Congratulations. Next is from CKM Toastmasters, Toastmasters Cyril Thomas. Congratulations. And next is from Vision Toastmasters, Toastmasters Priya. Last, and but not the least, is tonight's Presidential Award, and it goes to none other than Toastmaster Cyril Thomas. Congratulations, Cyril. Now, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the efforts of the fantastic team of Area G1 for putting together this brilliant show. The co-chairs, the registration chairs, the registration team, PR chairs and PR team, design chairs and design team, the newsletter chair, content manager and content team, and the conference PQ team. Wonderful job and kudos. Can we have the slide for that, please? Let me carry on. There it is. The pillars of Orate 2020, Gagan, Cyril, Nitya, Lalita, Mansi, Yogeshwari, Vaishnavi, Sriram, Ravi, Aarti, Hargundip, Abhishek, Furkan, Om Prakash, Vishnu Priyan, Akhila, Nikita, Priya, Vijay, and Charan. Awesome job, guys. Now, before I finish, I would like to encourage everyone to join us tomorrow from 10 a.m. for day 2 of Orate 2020. We have Area G1's humorous speech contest and evaluation speech contest. We also have the keynote speech from distinguished Toastmaster Amjad Ali. And don't forget the special stand-up performances from comedian Raja Shekhar and Rohit Swain. Can we have the teaser?
एंजाइटी अटैक आप लोग हुआ है कभी? मुझे क्या पता यार। माधुरी दीक्षित का पूरा करियर इस पे बेस्ड धक धक करने लगा। मुकेश अंबानी हॉस्पिटल गया होगा, डॉक्टर ने यहाँ पे स्टेथोस्कोप लगाया होगा, उसके दिल पे रखा होगा, आवाज आएगी लपडब 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 लपडब, ओ जियो धन धना धन, ओ जियो। अरे जा साले।
Yeah, like I remember my first show, I performed for IIIT. There's a IIIT in Hyderabad. So I performed there, I wrote a series of jokes. I was expecting nothing less than an applause for every joke. So I cracked a joke, I paused so that audience can laugh. Audience also paused. It's not easy to make people laugh, you guys agree, right?
Suppose if I compare myself with myself, I would not know where I have improved, but I need someone next to me to find out whether I am better than that person or not. That does not mean that person is good, better than you in qualities, not at all. It's just to test your skills where you stand.
Thank you. I am stoked and I hope you guys are too. Let me now hand over to the control to the Chief Sergeant at Arms, Toastmaster Kirti. I hope you guys had fun. Over to you, Toastmaster Kirti.
Thank you, Anirudh. Thank you so much, each and everyone, for joining our conference. Hope you all enjoyed and learned something new today. And I thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.